Hello and welcome. Today is September 2nd, and we are at the Profit Plan webinar series. And today we're talking about selling from the roots. I want to welcome all of you here, and I'm so excited to have you here today. And thank you for carving out this time to be with me, because what we're going to cover today is not just about selling more. It is about selling from a place of strength, certainty, and purpose. And let me start today with just telling you a little bit about who I am and welcoming you to this webinar series. My name is Rhonda Petit. Uh, I am a speaker, author, and sales and business coach who works with medical device sales leaders to allow them to lean into change, leverage their disruption, and so that they can create a sustainable business and attract top talent in their organizations. And I've been in sales for about 40 years in the life sciences and molecular diagnostics and medical device arena. And today, what we want to really talk about is the 3 root mindset shifts that can drive consistency in your sales results. So let me see if I can't make this bigger. There you go. All right. So what I want to start out with today is a simple picture, and I want you to imagine a apple orchard, and it's this time of year. The kids are back to school today, and it's fall, it's harvest time. So just think of an apple orchard and an apple tree. And you can water those trees, you can prune them, you can polish them on the outside. But if the roots in any of the trees are weak, then the fruit becomes inconsistent. So some seasons you can get it to produce, and other seasons it's struggling. And eventually, if it struggles too much, it withers and dies. So sales are no different than, if you think about an apple tree. Most people are spending time thinking about trying to fix the fruit on the outside. So that could be learning new closing techniques or reviewing handling objections. And those things are all really good, or polishing their pitch. But the real problem is never at the fruit. It always comes down to what's in the roots. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Because when your roots become strong, the fruit is naturally going to start to take care of itself. And I would imagine everyone here today is looking to have figure out mastery so that they can create consistent sales and enjoy a sustainable business over time. So I want to set the premise for what we're going to go through in the next 45 minutes. And there's 3 main roots that I'm going to be talking about that are underneath the fruits of sales. And those 3 roots have to do with your ability to make decisions, whether you're a leader or an individual contributor, your attitude that you bring to the party, again, whether you're a sales leader or an individual contributor, and the amount of conviction you deliver in your communication, which is coming from a strong belief. And when you really work at yourself and becoming the best version of yourself and understanding how these 3 things, the decisions that you make, the attitude that you bring to the party, and the amount of conviction you have in your communication is impacting your results, and you learn the secrets of strengthening those roots, what starts to happen is that you get to a consistent ability in being in the flow, in the spirit of selling, and selling with strength and with purpose. So the decisions that you make are the things that build trust and confidence, right? And people buy from who they trust. And, we're all taught when we go to sales school about the discovery process, get to people to know, like, and trust you. But one of the most important persons that you have to trust is yourself. 2, the attitude that you're carrying is your influence ability. And your influence can either show people how to see value, or it can be used, you could be using it against yourself if you don't and not even know it. So we're going to talk about that, but the attitude really translates to influence. Influence translates to value. People buy value when they're looking to solve a problem. They want to get a value, and they want to get a value that's greater than the cost that they have to pay for it. And the more that you can increase that value, the more attractive your product and services become to others. And then the third thing is conviction. And think of it, when you go to anywhere to looking to buy or to solve your problems, whether you're buying something in the store or whatever, you're looking for some certainty. And the thing about you embodying conviction is that it creates certainty, and it allows people to walk across a strong bridge of belief to make an agreement that they're going to feel good about. And so when we start strengthening these 3 roots and the mind shifts behind it, all of a sudden we stop chasing sales, and instead sales start flowing to us consistently and predictably. And that's what we all want. So here's the truth. I want you to hold on to, though, through the entire session. And that is that you can never give to someone what you don't have. So what you want to be thinking about is how strong, as we go through this, is how strong are my roots in my decision making ability and trusting myself? How strong are my roots in the attitude and being able to master my attitude and not mirror it with what I see on the outside? And then how strong is my conviction in my product, what I'm bringing to the marketplace, my company, and and myself, that I can deliver product and really serve someone powerfully. All right. So, and when you think about that, you can't get what you want. If you don't trust yourself, clients won't trust you. If you don't come to the party with an attitude of possibility, you're never going to be able to inspire others to see value. And if you don't believe in yourself, your product, and your transformation, your clients won't either. So, but when you work on becoming the best, and when your roots start to really grow deep and wide, your fruits create positive impressions and lasting impact on the people you serve. So let's dig into the first root that we're going to be talking to today. And so that root is decisions. Now, James, I'm sure you'll agree that most salespeople don't realize, one of the most things most people maybe don't realize, is that indecision is the #1 killer to confidence. Anytime that we hesitate, second guess, or delay, you start to weaken your own trust in yourself. Wouldn't you agree, Katrina? And here's the kicker, your clients will feel it. So clients rarely buy because of what you say, but they do buy because of the energy you're bringing to the party, right? And if you're unsure, they're unsure. They're picking up on that vibration. Everyone's speaking the law of vibration. Our radio stations are always on. You can't turn them off, and people pick up your vibrations. So if you're confident, they feel safe, and safety is what's building trust. But let me give you an example. So early in my career, I can remember being new. I started selling when I was like 21 years old, and I could see myself sitting with, major prospects, and they'd ask me a direct question about price. And then I would, have this hesitation and not be sure. And instead of answering clearly, I hesitated. I was, thinking about making the sale, wondering if the pricing was right, all kinds of different things. And so I'd say something like, well, let me check with my manager and I'll get back to you. And literally in that moment, you could feel the energy in the room shift. And the trust in me and that I was capable of delivering and serving them powerfully, dropped instantly. Now contrast that with a few years later, after I grew in experience and my confidence, being in another sales conversation. I can remember, this was like a $500,000 deal selling chemicals to a company. I wrote about it in my book, The Spirit of Selling. And, the client asked me some really tough questions about the pricing. But this time I was really decisive because I knew that we had the best solution. And so I said to him, look, here's how we work, and here's why it matters, and here's why it's worth it to you. And instead of pulling back, you can see them like leaning in to you in the conversation. And that deal closed. And it wasn't because of my perfect words. I was still young in my career, but that was because of the confidence behind the decision that and where I was that time and what I was bringing to the party. So, the question is like, why is it that sometimes we have a high degree of confidence and other times we seem to have lost it? Well, usually it's you have to be monitoring yourself on a constant basis and saying, have I been putting off decisions lately? And sometimes we can fall into a trap of making choices or decisions in the fog. I call the decisions in the fog decisions from a state of fear, a state of obligation, or a state of guilt. And if you make choices or fog decisions instead of inspired decisions, what starts to happen is it weakens you start to question yourself, it weakens your decision ability, and it really puts you in a state of not trusting yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, like I said earlier, the common theme with all these three roots is you can't give what you don't have. So what do you do? What's the practical takeaway from this is that we always want to be thinking about, am I making an inspired decision? Now, if some of the things that I'm saying about fog decisions or the difference between choices and decisions is something that you're interested in learning more about, then I'm going to ask you to DM me right here on LinkedIn, whether you're watching this later or whatever, DM me the word inspire, and I will send you this document that clearly goes through all the distinctions about choices versus inspired decisions. But the thing I want you to walk away from is that when you're in a state of fear, when things are you're getting hit with disruptions, you have a high amount of stress, you must realize the importance of getting yourself in some form of meditation, whatever works for you, whether that's taking walks in nature, whether that's listening to a meditation, whether it's sitting quiet somewhere, not being disturbed, so that you can get yourself in that state of equilibrium so your intuition can start to kick in and you can hear it. And when you do, and you understand your purpose and you understand your intention behind who you want to serve and what you want to do for others, and you're aligned with that purpose, you're going to be able to make inspired decisions. And those inspired decisions are going to keep you in a high state of confidence in yourself. Because we're all connected. This isn't woo. We have a two-way radio station in our subconscious mind where we can have a prayer that goes out and we can get the answer to our prayer coming back, but you'll never hear the answer to what it is that you should do that is an inspired decision if you're in a state of fear. It's like you'll be on the wrong channel and it'll be blocked. So most people, if you're not in that calm state and you haven't got your balance in your body, you won't be able to hear it. But here's the good news. If you really strengthen your intuition muscles, you will be able, because we all speak the law of vibration, walk into a sales room, walk into a conference call, walk into a meeting with your team, whatever, and you'll be able to read the room with the vibrations very acutely. You'll be able to go in and without someone physically telling you who the decision maker is in the room or whatever, you'll be able to pick it up and you'll be able to start to go into the next route on the influence in the right way. But it all starts in the beginning with decisions that all the decisions that you make for yourself are creating confidence in yourself and trust in yourself. And if you can't give what you don't have and you want to build that, you want to start with some practical tips for doing your decision-making process. And that could be simple things like just making decisions more easily, like, not hesitating on your decisions, not wringing your hands about decisions, just making decisions and deciding. So that's really, from a practical standpoint, that would be the way to do it. So start small, don't agonize over things like what to eat, what to wear, which email to send first. Just start deciding and watch how, if you start making those decisions, think about the decisions you've been putting off, start making those decisions, you're going to start to increase your trust in yourself, and then that's going to spill into your sales performance. Because when you practice this decisive action, what you're doing in your neurologic in your nervous system is what you're conditioning yourself to carry confidence. And when you carry confidence, your clients feel trust. So now once the trust is established, what happens next is the showing your clients value, because people buy solutions to problems. People buy solutions to problems that have high value. If the value is higher than what the outgo for the cost of it is, it's like saying, if I came to you and I said to you, if you give me $100, I'm going to give you 1,000 back. Who would take that deal? Anybody? Anthony, how about you? Stephen, would you take that decision? Christopher, would you take the decision? Diane, David, who wouldn't take that decision, right? Well, your clients are the same way. When they're looking for value, either some sort of a financial value, some sort of a functional value. Is it going to solve a problem? Is it going to conserve or get me more value from the outgo that I put out in finances? Or emotionally, is it going to make people feel more connected? It raise the morale and solve an emotional value. It could be any of those three values, but people want to buy value. So the secret is really not about the features of the product, but it's about your attitude that you're going to bring to the conversation. And your attitude is going to frame the buying experience. And so let's talk about that. So your attitude is like a frame. And I had a couple months ago, we did a webinar on the frame. And if anyone wants to get the link for that, just DM me the word frame in the comments, and I'll send that to you, because it goes deeper than what we're going to be able to talk about today. But your attitude is setting an emotional tone, and it's setting a direction and a focus of the conversation. And if you're focused on cost, risk, or their fear, then your clients will be too. So if they say you don't want to have your clients really leading the conversation. You want to be the driver in the conversation and direct people's attention and focus on the payoff more than the payout. So a lot of times your clients are going to try to pull you to focus on, oh, this is what it's going to cost. I don't know if I have the budget or whatever. And what your job is to keep turning that focus back onto the payoff. Because if they're worried about, if they have $1,000, but they can have a value of 10,000, and you're not focusing them on that, then they're holding on to something that's going to keep them right where they are, and they're not going to be able to solve their problem. So if your presentation, your value presentation, whether it's financial, functional, or emotional, is anchored in the payoff, the joy, the freedom, the transformation they're going to experience, then that's then that's the lens that they'll start to view your offer through for their transformation. So your attitude is a strong influence in the conversation. And influence is going to determine whether your clients see your offer as an expense or as an investment, right, in their future. So just to give you a quick story of what I mean by this. So I was working on a prospect who kept getting hung up on the price. And who out there has, Chelsea, have you ever been in situations like that? What about you, Rose? And they kept pushing, saying things like every time I presented the offer, they would say something like it's too expensive. And at first I felt myself slipping into the frame. And who's been there? I'm sure there's some people out there. Stephen, what about you, Rich? Where you can get sucked into it, right? Like a vacuum. You could get sucked into it because they keep going at their focus is all around the payout instead of the payoff. And when you slip, you start getting into trying to convince somebody, you start defending, you get in your defensive mode, you start justifying and almost apologizing for what the price is, right? And then you start, the other thing that can happen from a mindset is you can start to say, well, maybe they're right, maybe it is too much. And so if you start letting them sell you, and by taking the focus to the payout instead of the payoff, you're losing leverage, right? But then I caught myself and I shifted my attitude and I remembered the frame. I need to get them to focus on the payoff and instead of the payout. And I said, let's imagine a month from now and you've implemented this solution and your team's performing at peak levels and your stress levels have dropped in half. You feel like you have more energy to use because you're not expending it on the stress. What is that worth to you? And in that very moment, when I really, got them into their imagination to think about not having stress and how much that stress is costing them, those opportunity costs, what it was costing, then they stopped, looked at the cost, and started seeing the transformation, and then they signed. But it's you have to go into those conversations in that strength of an attitude where you're going to say to yourself, I'm bringing a 10 out of 10 to this call, no matter what. And no matter what they say or say to me in the beginning, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to deviate to where their attitude is. I'm going to keep mine, from a standpoint of service, that I'm going to give them, that I have the very best offer for them. If you believe you do, of course. So, attitude is everything when it comes to selling. And so things that you might want to do is say, instead of like, think about if you uh, if they're focused on the payout, right? You might want to say something like, yes, the cost is $10,000, right? But what is it costing? But when this solution is in place, what is that saving you on an annual basis? What's the return on investment? How fast are you going to be able to get that return on investment? So, you could say something instead of saying the cost is $10,000. Say this $10,000 investment is going to create $100,000 worth of growth. Isn't that what you're looking for? Or instead of saying this will take effort, you could say this is going to unlock freedom for you because you're not going to have all these maybe people doing the work, and you're going to be able to free them up to do other things that are going to help drive profits in your organization. So your attitude is like a mirror that your clients are looking into. And when you reflect possibility and optimism, then they see themselves in a bigger picture. But if you just reflect back to where their eyes are, if they're only focused on the payout, then you're going to lose the sale there. So again, you can't give what you don't got. So if your attitude gets clouded with any kind of doubt or fear or frustration, you can't inspire possibility into someone else. But when your attitude is like radiating, you're coming from a stand of energy where you got excitement and you're focusing on the payoff. People can feel that and they want to jump into that energy because they want their problem solved and they want to not have the stress of having the situation to deal with. And when they see that from you, they value having that solution that you're bringing to them. So so far we've seen that our decisions, right, are creating trust, and that attitude is shaping the value that we're trying to sell, which is what we do in our presentation of our product and the value. But there's one more route that has to finish the process. And a lot of times this is the route that people may think they're done after the value, but you've got to work on the third route, which is the most important of all, because this is what's going to create your consistency in your sales. And it's the one that is going to carry across the finish line. And it's called conviction. Conviction is brings certainty to people. When people are coming, or even when you look for a solution to your problem, you're looking for some degree of certainty, right? When you agree. So people don't make decisions based upon what you're saying, but they're making decisions based upon what you believe. And so your belief is conviction. So that belief is the belief in yourself. Like, do you believe that you can really serve this person powerfully? Number one. Yes, check that one off. Do you believe in the product you're selling and the transformation you're selling? Great. Do you believe in your company to support you to deliver that product and services? And you have to really think about those three beliefs all the time, because any one of those beliefs could be questioned, in different times. There's things that are going to happen to you on a personal basis or on a company basis where you have disruptions and you have things going. And it's belief checks before you go into a sales call are paramount, because the degree of conviction that you have in your product or service, yourself, and your ability to deliver a transformation for another think of it as a bridge. And people don't like walking across bridges that are weak, right? But if that bridge is like made of solid steel, like, the San Francisco bridge or something like that, and it looks super sturdy, it's easy to say yes and walk. But if that bridge looks like a creaky bridge that, looks like it's going to fall down, like some of the ones that, have been replaced, if you've ever seen on the highway, people are a little eerie going across those. So they're making decisions on what you believe. So the reality, they borrow certainty from you because they don't have it. So this is another thing where it's a gift that you're giving the client, is your certainty and your conviction. And once they're on one side of the bridge, they're in fear, doubt, and hesitation, right? But on the other side of the bridge is their transformation. So you actually serve the client by bringing your conviction, your certainty, to make the bridge so that they can cross over to their promised land. And that bridge is all based upon belief. And when you have unshakable belief in your product, your service, and your ability to deliver, people are going to walk and say yes. So I can remember a prospect that I had that was so full of objections. I swear they came up with every single one in the book. And they kept saying, I'm not sure this is going to work for me. I've tried other things. I don't want to waste my money again. My job is on the line. I can't make a bad decision. And if I had wavered and said, maybe you're right, that deal would have died right there, right? And I'm sure many of you can think of situations like that, but I didn't. I looked them in the eye and I said, look, I know this is going to work for you, and here's why, and here's how. And I will not let you fail, because I'm committed to walking it with you and through the whole transformation, through the whole process. And when I had that, when that conviction came up and that belief came up, and you're looking them in the eyes and they're seeing soul to soul, and they can feel that belief, like it's not fake, it's not like coming from, you're trying to fake it or anything. I mean, it's true. They feel it, and then you make an emotional composite with them, and they've, if you, especially if you already built up trust, you demonstrated your value, and now you're saying, I'm in this, we're in this together through the transformation process, through the transition process. They're going to walk, because a lot of people are not giving them that, or a lot of people will at this point just kind of throw it up and say, well, decide. And if they don't have that belief, they're not going to walk across. And that conviction changed everything. So they signed, and later they said to me, Rhonda, I didn't really believe it at first, but I am so happy that I borrowed your belief. This has been great. Those are the greatest, I think those are the greatest gifts we get back from our clients, is when you have a happy client, they've implemented something. I can remember one of the CEOs, when I was working at Agincourt, saying to the group, why haven't we talked to these people before? And the transformation that took place in that facility was just, what's the word? It's fulfillment. I think that's probably one of the greatest things that you can have as a leader, or as a an individual contributor, is the fulfillment of knowing that you service someone and they had a transformation and it was very positive and it benefited them. So how do you create this, this conviction with your team if you're a leader, or if you're an individual contributor? I think what you want to do is, not I think, I know what you want to do is, you really want to write down, if you're in, let's say you're an individual contributor, write it out. Because when you write out, why do I believe in the product or services? And you start writing down all the things about your product or service that help the client, all the things, and you look at them and you start to say, oh, holy cow, you really start to build belief. Because number one, when you write, it causes you to think in pictures, and it kind of really gets you focused. But the more you write it out, and the more things that you come up with as far as the value that you believe, it really increases your belief. And then why do you believe in the transformation it creates? So, and ask yourself that question. So what, why do I believe? Well, when I sold it to ABC company, this is what they said. When my colleagues did it for this company, they increased their productivity by 200%, whatever it is. And you start gathering those success stories. If you're a leader, you really want to pull from success stories from your team on all the positive things, and ask the questions, write them out, so that everybody can start to visually see the impact that the product and the transformation makes. Because if you don't share those success stories, and that's one of the things as a manager and a leader that you have the ability to do, is to share all the success stories. Because I know when I was running a $40 million business and I had 12 different people, and I'm traveling with 12 different people, I saw all kinds of scenarios. So when you bring your people into a meeting, you want to use that, because in their individual territories, they don't get to see as much as you do if you're managing 12 different direct reports and seeing all the success stories. So you really want to feed that into your sales meetings, because you're always wanting to check as a sales leader is, do they believe in themselves? So when you're doing your one-on-one travels with them, how strong do they feel confident about themselves and belief in yourself? And what are you going to do to help reinforce those beliefs and strengthen those skills for them? But then, do they believe in the product, and do they believe in the company? And when you start sharing, service success stories, as well as success stories of the transformations that you've done with your customers, and then you're building confidence and you're building up the skills and the mastery of your team, you're just continually raising the levels of conviction for your organization. So if you start reading that stuff, that statement daily, and it becomes part of your identity, you start getting this unshakable conviction that like nobody can deny. And especially when each individual has this unshakable conviction in themselves, that sells, because that's the unique differentiator, if you will. You know, you can buy that from somebody else, but you're not going to get me. And if you're walking in and your conviction is way higher than the other guy who's just as much or less, they're going to want to buy from you because of the certainty level. So once again, you can never give someone what you don't have, but conviction is a root that you want to build. So if you don't believe in yourself or your product or your transformation, your clients will never believe in it. And they're going to pick up on the vibration, not because you said it, they're just going to feel it. But when that conviction is rooted deep and you create that bridge of certainty that they can walk across to their transformation, you know, there you go from doubt to decision and from fear to transformation. So just to summarize, I want you to imagine that you really took this seriously, that unlike, you know, working on the surface stuff, you really decided that, okay, I own my destiny. I own my team's destiny. I'm going to take on really thinking through my decision capability and becoming really good at decision making, making inspired decisions that are aligned with your purpose and your ability to serve others powerfully. And you work on that. You work on your attitude, which takes time and practice. Saying, okay, if I had to grade myself today, where was my attitude? Was I a 10 out of 10 even when I got hit with some stuff that was trying to pull me down to a 6 or a 7 or a 2? Did I hold the 10, or did I slip? You know, what would I do differently? How could I how good was I at reframing and keeping people focused on my team, on the payoff of the work that they're doing? How focused was I on, you know, keeping our clients and our prospective clients focused on the payoff of their transformation? And did I hold it for them so that they could see possibility and inspiration, see value? And then third, the certainty of being able to deliver the service and ensure that the transformation is going to work with them. How good was my conviction today? And was it strong, or could it be, you know, can I get to the gym and build that more? And you start working at those three things at the root level. Instead, what starts to happen is you're going to have a compound effect of consistency. And at the end of the day, it's all about sustainability of your business, not just the profitability, or not just the profitability in one quarter. It's about how are we going to sustain our business and continually, you know, create this alignment and flow. And when you do, now all of a sudden your business is growing beautifully, and you're in that alignment and flow. And so the real question, you know, to recap, is you got to remember, decisions are what builds confidence and trust in yourself. You can't give what you don't have. Attitude is what creates influence and value, and you can't give what you don't have. Conviction creates certainty and agreement, and you can't give what you don't have. So the real question is, where exactly are you in your roots today? Where's your team in your roots today? And the truth is that being honest about where you are and what you want to work on in the gym is where your greatest breakthroughs can come from. And that's why I created the free sales audit. Now, this is not a gimmick. This is not I'm not going to be calling you or doing anything from taking the audit. This is strictly a service that I offer. This audit takes, if you answer it honestly, you're going to get the biggest bang from it. But it's a 5-minute sales audit, and there's about 8 to 10 questions in there that you answer honestly, and it's only going to take you 5 minutes. What happens is you get a diagnosis back in an email, no phone calls, just an email. And if you choose and you want to have a follow-up conversation, there's a link for a free consultation afterwards that you can choose to get further information back. But you will get some specific diagnosis of things that you want to work on. And it's going to be a personalized diagnosis for you at this particular point in time, today, like September 2nd or whenever date you're going to take it. So doesn't mean that's a constant for you. It just means where you are today. But if you haven't been getting consistent sales and you think that you could benefit from doing an evaluation of your root system, this is the ticket to do that. You'll get an email within 1 to 2 days back with your results and your diagnosis. And then in that email, like I said, there's a strictly optional. I promise I will not call you or do anything, unless I have your permission or you've called me and you wanted to have anything. But you'll get a complimentary link in that for a discovery call. And on that call, what I'll do is we'll review your results together, and we can talk about practical ways that you could strengthen the roots for yourself or your team to get consistent reproducible sales by working at the root level. So what I want you to do right now, if this sounds interesting to you and you just want to, even curiosity has you, do me a favor, get your phones out and take a picture of the QR code, go to the audit, fill it out, and you'll get the results sent back to you. And if you answer truthfully, then that's going to really help you, because when you're clear on the starting point from where you are and where you want to go, the stronger the recommendations are going to be. So this is your personal roadmap invitation to figure out where your roots are and what you can do to strengthen them. But I want you to remember one thing, and from today, is that your fruits, the fruits of your work, the fruits that you're producing, are always following your root system. And so your next level of sales success starts with awareness of really realizing where you are. And that's what this audit does. It tells you exactly where to focus. Take it today, and then let's start growing your roots so you can serve the community very powerfully and consistently produce results. So I want to thank you for your time, and I look forward to providing some diagnosis for those of you out there that are looking to strengthening your roots. And I wish you a wonderful September. It's the beginning of the month, the end of Q3, and a bountiful harvest. And let's continue to make that harvest even more bountiful and more consistent and flowing by working on our roots. Okay, have a great day. Thanks.